What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/PettyRevenge. Now, in today's video, I'll be bringing you 5 of the very best PettyRevenge stories from the past week. Here we go. I painted my pool green after my neighbour complained about my green pool. One of my neighbours complained about our green pool. It had been neglected for the winter and was looking a bit gross. I was actually in the middle of getting the chemicals sorted when an officer from the council turned up to do an inspection. I showed her all the chemicals and she was satisfied that I was getting it sorted. A week later though, and she's back. The neighbours have complained again. It turned out the fiberglass in the pool was badly damaged and we've decided to rip it out and start again. Our neighbour does not like the concrete pool. The council officer mentioned that the neighbour kept going on about how at least the concrete look was better than green. They apparently went on at length about how much they hated looking at a green pool. Now, green is my favourite colour. The tradies doing our work also heard the neighbours complaining about our green pool. They showed me a colour chart that lists emerald green as an available colour. They'll give me a discount on that colour if I want it. I've always wanted a green pool. We're going to start painting next week. Oh, you cheeky guys. Updated, here's the colour chart. We struggled to choose between emerald green and brook green, but emerald green is closer to the colour it was before we emptied it. Okay, having a look at this chart here. Ooh, emerald green. That is definitely a proper green right there. Update 2, this is what it currently looks like. Okay, so there we've got a before and an after, I guess, although it's about to get painted a very nice shade of green, I imagine. In the first image, you can see some original fiberglass, which ended up fading to a kind of pale yellowish blue. The green in the middle is the sludge that was left at the bottom after we emptied it. It was gross and smelly. The second image shows the pool after it's been ground back and the top tiles removed. It's ready to be sealed next week. The sealant has to cure for 7 days, then we can paint. So, I'll be back to update in a couple of weeks. Oh, that is absolute genius. Your neighbour complains about your green, neglected, horrible pool. You're just like, you know what, actually, my favourite colour's green. Let's go, I'm going to paint it green. I love that. It's so petty, but it's so beautiful at the same time. Guys, you know what? Hit 5,000 likes on this video and I'll be sure to look out every single day for an update when it comes. It says it's going to be in about a week or so. I'll be looking out for it if we hit 5,000 likes and I will bring you that update as soon as it is written. Moving on to our next story, sapphires aren't a Karen's best friend. Not my story, but my cousin's. Let's call him Dave. So Dave, a 34-year-old man, was dating a Karen for a really long time, like 4 years, and earlier this year he finally proposed. Now, Karen was a bit of a gold digger and a very entitled person. She was a bit of white trailer trash, but fancied herself as a rich lady. She was very vocal to all the other women in the family about how she wanted a traditional diamond ring and how she'd like Dave to follow the tradition of getting her an engagement ring worth 3 months' salary. Now, Dave isn't super rich, but he does have a stable factory job, and around here that's basically upper class, and his 3 months' salary would be between $3,000 and $6,000 depending on overtime. Needless to say, Dave did not want to spend that on a ring given the global situation and the fact that he could be laid off at any time. He'd been doing the ring shopping at the beginning of the year and thankfully wasn't laid off. So Dave decided to look into alternatives and found white sapphires. For those of you who don't know, white sapphires are a fantastic alternative to diamonds. They're just as hard, can be grown so they're not got on with slave labour, aren't artificially inflated in price, and to someone who isn't a jeweller, they look exactly like any diamond. So Dave was able to buy the size stone that Karen wanted, with a fancy setting, gold band, the works, for a fraction of the cost if it had been a diamond. He proposed and told her it was a diamond and that he'd saved for a year. A bit of an idiot move, but it was him being petty. He told me it was probably his way of getting revenge for her being a Karen. However, it doesn't end there. As you can imagine, once the wedding planning started, it didn't go well. Karen was an entitled witch and didn't understand why a global pandemic was cause enough to hinder her for having her perfect day. It all came to a head one day when she and Dave had a fight over the guest list. The dream venue she chose didn't allow for as many people as they needed, like 300. Hey, both have big families, and Karen sent out invitations and saved the dates without Dave's knowledge. Except she only invited her side of the family. No one on Dave's side got an invite, not even the in-laws. Dave called off the wedding and kicked her out of his apartment. In his name it was, by the way. Karen kept the ring out of spite, something Dave didn't really care about. It didn't hold any value to him, and he was more worried about the wedding he was now having to cancel and the texts he was getting from Karen's side. It took a few months, but they all calmed down and he didn't hear from her until last month. It turns out she tried to pawn the ring to a pawn shop in town known for its jewellery because the owners were in the jewellery business before they switched to pawning. She was convinced that she'd get a few thousand for it since she still believed it was a diamond. The pawn shop offered her a couple hundred because it was a sapphire and the owner actually liked it. She called Dave several times and sent a billion texts. He never answered or picked up, demanding that he pay her in cash what the ring was worth, threatening to sue for the lie he told her, etc. He and I had a good laugh listening to her tantrum. I guess diamonds might be a girl's best friend, but sapphires are definitely not for Karens. Hey, you know what? In my opinion, sapphires are exactly perfect for Karens. You know, they're not the top tier, not diamonds. They're not, in fact, worth that much. And yeah, they're the one below. I don't see anything wrong with this. Sapphire should be a Karen's best friend. Only if you don't think it's a sapphire and you think it's a diamond, then find out it's actually not a diamond, it's a sapphire. I can imagine that being very annoying. But yeah, I mean, this Karen totally deserved what she got. Although I don't really understand from Dave's perspective. Like, you knew you were marrying a Karen, and you even knew before you were going to marry her that she was a Karen, right? So why marry a Karen? That's the only question I've got right now. But hey, I'm not Dave. He can do what he wants. Moving on to our third story now. You ignore your do not cross sign. I murder your cookies. This happened a while ago while I was living in Austin, Texas. I was driving in the city, so I'll do my best to detail directions as this was an encounter I had with a pedestrian. One weekday, I had to leave work on my lunch to return some Google Fiber equipment I've been using. Classic middle of the day traffic in the city and no place to park on the street, so I decided to park in an underground lot beneath City Hall. I made my way around a few blocks to find the entrance to the garage. I was on the opposite side of the block to the entrance, waiting to turn left, and noticed a man carrying one of those big party platters of cookies. He clearly looked like he was in a hurry and was walking in the same direction I was going. The light turned green for me to turn, and as I crept around the turn and to the next stoplight, I take notice of him. Sitting at the red light, I'm first and the only one in line to turn left again onto a one-way street with 3 lanes. This is important. That also has the entrance of the garage. Once the light turns green with an arrow for me, I quickly glance at the cookie man and see him start a slow walk to cross the street. He did not have a signal to walk yet. I have pulled out into the intersection, look over my shoulder to see he is far enough back for me to turn, still in the first of the 3 lanes, and I do so into the far right lane. That's when I hear a massive thud. I stop in the middle of the 3 lanes, look out my window and see a water bottle rolling in the street. Once I realise that the bottle is what hit my car, the cookie man runs over to my open driver's side window. Sticking his hand in my face, he shouts something to me about turning and calls me a few choice words. I told him there was plenty of room for me to turn and him to walk, but I didn't mention his do not cross sign he ignored. The cookie man then leans closer to me and almost into my window and kicks my car while shouting more expletives. I look at the tray of cookies, then at him and back at the cookies. Then I reached out my window and smacked the bottom of the cookie platter up, causing the cookie man to try and balance the platter more, but he ended up just spinning the platter, tossing the cookies all over the streets. I hit the gas and go into the parking garage. I park, return my items, and I've never seen him again. I did go back after work to look at the scene, and you could see every cookie smashed on the ground from passing cars. Well guys, I hate to say it, but I guess that is the way the cookie crumbles in this one. My apologies, but I had to. Now for our 4th story. Who flung poo? First week after my friend gets back off deployment, 2007 OEF. We are at the bar and he tells me day 3 getting home that his neighbour across the street runs over to tell him his next door neighbour has been tossing his dog's poo over the fence and it's been collecting in the basement windowsill of his house. He tells him he has been coming over periodically to clean it. He showed him where it was landing and the few piles still down there. My buddy cleans up his window and the surrounding yard and puts it into an old Pringles can with a lid. He tells me the next night he and 2 army buddies, drunk, take the Pringles can over to his neighbour's closed dryer exhaust outlet and dumps the contents into the hosing and seals close the flap, forcing the hot, damp air back into the house the next time the dryer is used. The next day, he installed cameras around his house and set a few motion-activated security lighting up. The next day, his neighbour is pounding on his door, threatening to call the cops for sticking poo into his dryer. My buddy asked him why would he put dog poo into his dryer and that he doesn't even own a dog. His neighbour replied, "Because my dog has been going into your yard sometimes when he gets loose." My buddy points to the cameras and said he hadn't seen any dogs in his yard and to go ahead then and call the police. He never heard anything else from his neighbour. Well, that is probably one of the most disgusting PettyRevenge stories that I've ever read. But yeah, great revenge nonetheless. To be fair, what sort of person do you have to be to get your dog's poo and not put it in your own bin, but then chuck it out your window into your neighbour's yard? How disgusting is that? All I can say is, OP, it's a good thing that you and your mates have enough, whereabouts and enough, common sense / banter to do what you did and make this guy's life a living heck. Because let's be honest, guys, that's what he deserved for doing something as disgusting as this. Now for our final story of today's video, a satisfying way to get revenge on an old white man telling me I'm anti-feminist. I don't want to get into a whole debate about my politics, but I'll just say I'm a member of a political party in the UK that allows their members to submit policy ideas. I also own my own business selling scrunchies. It's important, I promise. A bit of backstory. I, a 20-year-old female, suffer really bad mental health brought on by my birth control. I didn't even know it was my birth control till I did some research. I found it crazy that my doctor never told me and instead put me in therapy rather than trying to change the cause of the problem. So I wrote a policy where doctors would check in on the mental health of women on birth control whenever they came in to get more, mainly focusing on the pill. I got a lot of support, except from this one guy, a male 60 years old, I'll call him Mark. He's super sexist, sleazy, and hates me for some reason. He likes everything to stay the same as it was when he was younger. I submitted the policy and then received an email from Mark with the entire policy committee, which I'm a part of, CC'd in. He rewrote my policy, picking out every tiny mistake in red text like some kind of teacher. He then told me that I was setting feminism back to the days of Mary Stopes, a woman who worked on contraception access over 100 years ago. It was a patronising email, clearly designed to belittle and embarrass me when all I wanted to do was to help women not go through what I did. So I responded, telling him I was so sorry for setting feminism back, and to make up for it, I had named a scrunchie after him, of which I would donate profits to the charity named after Mary Stopes herself. I'm pretty proud of it. It's doing quite well in the shop too. Apparently, a lot of people hate Mark and have bought one just to get back at him. He's pretty livid. Yeah, to be honest, Mark sounds like that person that we all probably know, someone who thinks they know absolutely everything, even when they speak to someone who is thinking of a great idea, they're like, you know what, actually, nah, I'm better than you at this. Let's do it the way that I want to do it, that sort of person. Yeah, I've got to say, great revenge. It's crazy that everyone else in this group dislikes Mark as well. Can you not just say to him, you know what, Mark, we actually don't really like you. Can you kind of leave? I guess it's a political party, you can't really do that, but that would be the ideal way to do things. Yeah, I hope your scrunchie makes a lot of money and annoys Mark even more, because that is what he deserves. I mean, realistically, is he actually saying that no, people who are on birth control should not speak to their doctors about their mental health, when bad mental health is a side effect of going on the pill, as OP has said? That just makes no sense, Mark. It's very weird of you to say that, to be honest. I don't know why you wouldn't want to help people, but hey, that is entitled Mark for you guys. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you did and you want more PettyRevenge, I'm not actually sure if I've got a video on it. I don't know. This might be my first ever. If I do, it's here. If I don't, this is going to be pro revenge videos. Same sort of stuff, just the revenge is a little bit more, heightened. Also, make sure you are subscribed to my channel for daily Reddit content, and I will see you guys tomorrow with a brand new upload.